All right. Good night, everybody. My name is Steve, and I'm here with Vaughn. We're
Hey,
back again. This is, I
back
guess, round
again.
two for us.
Back at it.
Excellent. Vaughn, you're looking nice and fresh and refreshed since I saw you.
God damn, man. It is hot outside.
Well, I've been chained to my drawing table, so I don't know how hot it is outside. But as long as I don't have to hear the word wind chill for the next 6 months, I'm good.
Mm. Well, let's see what happens because it is bipolar outside. So you never know, man.
Yeah.
You
Well,
gotta
I know you're a cold blooded. You're cold blooded.
Yeah.
And so you prefer the winter and the fall. I'm a spring fall guy myself, but can't knock the heat.
Can't knock the heat, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So apologies to everyone. We are starting a little bit later than normal, but I'm glad that you're all here. I'd like to let's put these comments up on the stage. We've got there Dowlin 6819.
Okay.
Hey all, I'll get that eventually. I'll figure that. I'll figure that one out.
I didn't even try.
It's all right. You could actually see the hamster in my brain kind of like spinning, for sure. And Rogues, hey, glad that you stuck it out. And thanks for going over to check out the He-Man talk with A-Man Decepticon and the guys. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but we've got some amazing guests today. We have got the crew. We've got Frank Avila, Mike Connell, and Kevin from Mad Quill, and we're going to bring them in and just get it rolling here. So I'm going to add Frank, Kevin from Mad Quill, and we're going to bring them in. Someone's got their volume on, but it's all good. It's all right. It's funny. Whenever I hear my voice, I kind of like go, because you sound really different between your ears. It's all good. So good evening, everyone. How's everybody?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Excellent. So we ran into each other at Niagara Falls Comic-Con this past weekend. And how was it for you guys?
I wasn't actually there, so I'll leave it to the other guys. I missed it. I was busy with family life shit, but stuff. Sorry. Yeah, but I heard it was good anecdotally.
Yeah, it was good. It's pretty like you could always guarantee, at least for us. I don't know how you guys think.
I think Vaughn's on mute.
Out of a couple of small things, Niagara's pretty stable, right? Like Kevin, I saw some guys were floating around with your books as well too.
Yeah. Sorry, just one small technical difficulty. I can hear you, Vaughn, but nobody else.
Okay, that's weird.
Testing, 1 2 1 2.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Jump out and jump back in. Sorry, guys.
I can hear you now.
No worries.
Okay. No worries. Yeah, just jump back in. I'll let you back in.
Yeah, but I saw your books floating around. I saw a couple of people walking around with your books. So you guys seem like you guys removed some products, so that's good.
Although I just lost it. Now I can't hear Vaughn.
Really? Yeah? That's weird.
Are you telling me that StreamYard is knocking us all over the place? What's going on here? Can anyone hear me, first of all?
I can hear both of you. I can hear everybody perfectly.
I can hear Frank. I could hear Vaughn before. I can't hear Vaughn now. I can't hear Kevin.
That's weird.
I don't think Kevin's with us anymore.
No, he's coming back.
Yeah, so I'm gonna remove Frozen Kevin from the stage. How about now?
Testing 1 2.
I can hear you fine, Frank.
Weird. Same problem. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. I can hear you all when I'm backstage. Oh, man.
That's so strange.
That's weird.
Okay, so we'll continue it. Vaughn, you might want to, if you want to step out.
I'm going to step out, yeah.
Yeah, step out, and then maybe that'll reset it on your side for Mike. But yeah, I find like the conventions are a grind, but when you're an independent creator like we are, it's kind of the way that you have to do it to get in front of the public. But it's also instant feedback, which is fantastic.
Yeah, Friday was pretty decent. Saturday was crazy for us.
Testing.
Hear you loud and clear.
Back, Vaughn. You're good.
Okay, that's glad to. So it's me. I was a problem.
This time, usually it's me, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the convention did about 7,000 to 8,000 people on Saturday,
Sorry, say again. Did you say 8,000?
That's what the numbers are that we heard. About 8,000 people roll through that place on Saturday.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I guess that's not bad. Like I don't know what to gauge that against, because it's hard when you hear like fan expo numbers, right? So it's hard to kind of gauge what 8,000 people kind of look like versus when you hear fan expo. Granted, it's they say 100 and something plus. Granted, that's a mess. I don't even like to. If fan expo was like a good like 60 to 80, I think I'd be happy.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anything, yeah.
for us, it's kind of funny because we were set up beside some lady doing jewelry, and across from us was the oven mitt lady. So it was quite the diverse traffic flow that coming through the booth. But for my first experience behind the booth at Niagara Falls with the team, it was pretty cool. A lot of good engagement, a lot of good talk at the booth.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with the TTRPG stuff coming down the line, we had a lot of good engagement there, and in the art, Kevin's artwork kind of sticks out, right? So you get a lot of eyes on the booth as people are walking by.
Mhm.
And as soon as you say the word werewolf, you kind of try to pick out the people from the crowd that are interested in that subject. And yeah, Saturday was really good. Sunday was a little bit quiet, but still good enough. I felt I was
Yes.
only there.
Sunday started pretty strong and then it tapered off pretty
Yeah.
heavy a little bit after like 1 or 2, right? But other than that, it was pretty consistent all across up for then. So,
Man. And Mike, what's your con experience been like? Because I know we've run into each other at different cons. And is there a con that's kind of like stands out to you where you're like, man, it was bonkers today?
I mean, I think I've really been forced to change my expectations and goals around each of them, usually after the fact. Like last year at Niagara Falls, I wasn't impressed. We got to meet you guys, so that was great, and overall it was a good crowd. But I was definitely debating whether we would come back.
yeah, I did.
And so, whereas hearing Frank and Kevin talk about what the experience was this past weekend, um, I, I think it's for the amount of commission work that Kevin did. So I think that Niagara Falls definitely seems to fall into the commission forward opportunity. Um, and we definitely sold more books this time than we did last time. So
That's good.
I think it's hit or miss, but for this, it's like, we were talking about it before. It's like, well, at the last minute, we also got into TCAF. So if we had been forced to make a decision, like I was taken out of the game this weekend regardless, so I couldn't have gone to either. But TCAF just has a different cachet, a different. You were mentioning it earlier. It's like you've got some heavy hitters. You've got it's different, right? And so whereas like the fan expos and the Toronto Comic Cons, again, like it's almost our sales there. Like when we first came out with the bestiary, we did really well. That 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 fan expo, it was great. But ever after, I find that it was really challenging to sell and compete and kind of cut through the clutter. I've been lucky enough to the last couple times piggyback off of Raid Studios when I've gone to Fan Expo or to Comic Con, which helps a lot, being part of that community and kind of being part of like some of those heavy hitters and just being in a group like that. But ultimately, it's really like you're paying to be seen at those things, right? It's like, yes, I was at Fan Expo. Yes, I was at Toronto Comic Con. That puts me in a realm where I'm part of the game, kind of thing, right? But we don't typically. The last couple times, we've done okay, but certainly not anything crazy. So it's about awareness. It's about networking. It's about fun. It's about that kind of stuff. So I think it's really to gauge them. Like I would say, not having gone to this past one, the Brantford one was great. I thought for of bang for your buck, location, everything else. Like I thought, like, hey, this is, small town hockey arena, good attendance, good layout, good sales. So that's where I'm like, hey, like that would never have been on my radar, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay. Quickly before we jump into that, did you guys see that MCX Mississauga? They have opened their
I
submissions.
just lost Vaughn again. Hold on.
Oh, he was saying that MCX has opened their commissions. It's a con. I think that's the one in the library. If I'm not.
Yes,
Yeah, Mississauga one. Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay? You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we heard you great.
Everything's good now? Oh my God. Sorry about that, guys.
No, is it?
Cool. It was a weird time. I had to switch over to my laptop.
But Mike, you're saying you lost me?
I'd lost you, and now I lost Kevin. It seems to be going intermittently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Between different people? Yeah. Well, we're going to struggle through, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll say like the MCX is something that you guys should check out. And then MCAF. Because you guys are going to, so you guys definitely have to get on that bandwagon. When it opens, I'll let you guys know. You guys could sign up. Now there's just so it's a great weekend. It's a positive weekend. You just got to think about the accommodations and getting up there because it's a 3-day kind of situation because you're there from, what are we there from? Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Well, that's the con. That's the festival. That's the festival date, but we tend to go up on the Thursday.
Because they have an opening night on the Thursday.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
MCAF. So basically, MCAF, but Montreal's version.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, normally we try and apply for as many shows as we can. But it's been rough go lately. It's like Montreal, Ottawa, Fan Expo, Toronto, no go for us this year. Waiting list. Got off the waiting list for TCAF a week before Niagara Falls. So we were committed. Mike could have gone to Niagara Falls while Frank and I, Mike could have gone to TCAF while Frank and I were at Niagara Falls, but he was busy with some family stuff, so just didn't work out this time.
The last second nature of it's really hard sometimes.
Yes.
Even with us, right? We applied and we made fun of the fact that we're in Montreal. We were like, we're not getting in. If we haven't right now, we're not getting in. And literally a couple of days later, I got the email and they're like, you could get a half a table. So I called Steve and we just said, we'll split the difference and just make it work. And we called one of our other guys, the letterer, to accompany me so that I don't drive, so that I have some kind of transportation back. Right, so that's what we did. Right, but it's daunting, right? When that happens. Also, we're finding that we're trying to avoid some of the bigger cons names and trying to do some of the weirder offshoot ones just because the cost of table versus the reinvestment that you're going to get versus the sales, I think some of them are a better bet. Because even the MCAF one, I think for the whole weekend, I think we did a double table. I forgot what we ordered. But it's like 400 and something outside of the accommodations or something like that.
Which is actually reasonable compared to some.
It's good. And yeah. So you think about that and the amount of sales, like we covered our table within the Friday, if not.
At MCAF?
Yeah, MCAF, yeah.
Oh, yeah. MCAF was crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
MCAF
Even last year, it was like crappy weather. It was raining, and it was still our best show of the year when we ended up looking back at the 2025 year. Mm-hmm. And by far, it will be our best show for 2026 as well, too.
So which province out of all the provinces love indie comics the most? Is it Montreal?
I would say Montreal because they have the bande dessinée kind of like they have that within them. They have that European flair. I would say I haven't been to a con out east, so I can't speak to the East Coast. But I will say for artistic appreciation, it's BC. So Fan Expo Vancouver and Montreal are fantastic. We haven't been able to get back into Fan Expo Vancouver, but I know that when I was starting out and I like had a couple of novellas and that's all I had, the support out there was crazy. Kevin, they said that you were doing commissions, right, this weekend?
Yeah.
Vancouver was all about sketch covers and commissions and I've actually, maintained contact with some of the people that I did commissions for out in BC, and we're still friendly.
That's
And
great.
so it's one of those things where, like, I think that con Montreal is one where you can kind of build community.
Yeah.
And as indie publishers, as we both are, that's kind of what's really important.
Yeah, there's another one called VanCaf, which used to be kind of their MCAF in Vancouver, and it just started back up. But we got waitlisted as well too for that one, and that one's supposedly the same kind of idea as TCAF, just in the West Coast. But they had a little bit of drama a couple of years ago, so they're just kind of restarting fresh again. But I think that would be one that I'm definitely going to look at applying for next year as well too, because they do a 2-day. It's all that indie zine and graphic novel kind of stuff, which I think is right where
Sure.
we should start positioning ourselves a lot more so.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned some of the more independent conventions, and honestly, Action Figure Comic Con.
Yeah,
for like its first year,
they did a great job.
Bigger show than I thought it would be, and it was a fun show, and it was just like, it was a great table price. Danny tried to take care of everybody he could. Danny Green, the showrunner.
Yep. Did he pass by?
Pardon me?
Did he pass by at
yes, yeah, he did. He came by.
The application just went out.
Yep, yeah. We locked in for a table there for January. But sometimes I find those shows they're just a little bit more fun because everybody's there for like action figures. They love action figures. They don't care about the big mainstream stuff. I mean, they care about it, but they're so passionate that you got guys that are just focusing on like the diorama setups and the photography for action figures.
Yeah.
And it's the same for comics. It's just like, if you can narrow down the people that are passionate about what they're leaning into, whatever that hobby is, they'll come and they'll spend money and they'll support you. And I'd rather have that than at this Comic-Con there's comics, but I heard there's celebrities and wrestling. They're over there.
Wrestling.
Yeah. The one thing that you just noticed it anecdotally over the years is that on those bigger shows, you're almost like a side attraction in Artist Alley.
After
where that's where people go in between panels and celebrity signings. And at those smaller shows, you're able to kind of connect and have more small talk. And people are genuinely interested more so in what you have on your table.
Yeah.
Whether it's a new book or it's your artwork or whatever, than some of the bigger shows.
Yeah. And that's where you find those people that you sell them on the idea of your book or whatever your product is, and they take it away. And then we had this happen at Niagara Falls. This kid comes running back like 2 hours later. He's like, "Where can I get issue number 2? Is it out? Where is it? Is it this one?" And we're like, no, it's coming out next month. Just hold on. It'll be, well, I need it now. Well, I just read this. This is amazing. Where's the rest? I'm like, oh, take a poster, take a flyer, take whatever. Here's a sketch. You're a good lad.
It's like a sucker.
Yeah. So let's get into the Mad Quill. For anyone who is in the audience and is unfamiliar with it, what is the Mad Quill?
Go for it,
So,
Mike.
I mean, Mad Quill started. Kevin and I work together in the real world, where we work kind of a creative ad agency stuff, and there's a lot of it can be fast paced, it can be very creative, it can be fun, it can be interesting, but it can also be tiresome, and like any job, you sit there and you're like, oh my god, what would you rather be doing, kind of thing. So it was really and we both knew the other loved comics and graphic novels and movies, TVs, films, all that kind of stuff, and we would talk about it a lot, and and eventually we started getting into the idea that we talk about this a lot. Why don't we come up with some ideas? And it really kind of came out of we both really liked the movie The Revenant. We did this, and so the comic idea for Feral came first for all intents and purposes, and we built kind of Mad Quill around that, because it's not that Kevin's got lots of other great ideas, but I have some good ideas, but Feral was the kind of tentpole moment for us to create, what we felt was an indie publishing label that would take it to great heights. So yeah, we kind of talked, and The Revenant was that kind of, wow, like the crap that these guys have to go through to make a living, and the danger, and the basically, you're either going to die or come back with a pelt, right? And we were like, imagine if there, added that extra layer of both, rarefied kind of pelts and mystical elements, but also just danger, and the stakes being that much higher. And the Canadian fur trade was definitely something we both kind of resonated with, and it just kind of grew from there. And we tested out the bestiary first, which was the kind of concept brought to life, which was really just an exploration of the beasts and creatures. And the HBC sends an explorer to Canada, and what did he find there? There has to be something there that's pretty, werewolves had died out, they're the real cause of the Black Plague, but and they were hunted down, and blah blah blah. Anyways, there was all sorts of little kind of beginning points and storylines, and Mad Quill just kind of grew from there. We were just like, let's just keep going with this. Kickstarted it, and it went really well, and then came on, the first issue in that universe came out, and it's just kind of gone from there. Slower than we would expect, and we always say that,
but so are we.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mad Quill would, if we could make Mad Quill our day job, and money and time was not at a premium, then we would do that. But
for sure,
yeah.
It's, I mean, everything Mike's saying is true. It was more of a situation where we were drinking beers and bitching and moaning about our jobs, having wings, and we were like, why are we complaining? Like, we sit at computers all day. Imagine you had a real job. Like, did you watch The Revenant? We just finished watching The Revenant independently with our own families or whatnot. And we're like, yeah, those guys, you died basically to try and take a pelt to the HBC, and you went in with like 50 guys and you came out with maybe 2 or 3, and that was the norm. And it was just so fascinating to us. And we're like, imagine you could level that up and be like, what if somebody offered you $1 million in the 1600s to hunt and kill a werewolf pelt? And literally it was like a Bill and Ted's Adventure moment where it's just like, whoa. And it just happened from there. We just started talking more about it, and which is always a fun moment, because you're like little kids when you come up with this cool idea.
Yeah.
But now we're little kids with like some disposable income, and we're like, can we publish this? Can we make a thing? And there's these great avenues now where you don't just have to say, all right, let's get a package together and let's try and pitch it to Image. Let's try and pitch it to Dark Horse.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually just do it yourself. And that was a big part of Mad Quill, because once we're done our day jobs, we need to do something else that's creative, because we're creative people. Frank, Mike, and I, we're all creative. So we need to have that outlet to be able to express that in a way where, you're not held by rules of clients or whatnot. So that was probably the bigger selling point for me was, oh, Mike, I know you can write and you like comics and you're a big nerd, and I'm a big nerd too. So let's make nerd stuff together and comics and draw it and just do what we want on the side after our day jobs. And where can we go from there? What other stuff do we like? We like card games. We like tabletop role-playing games. Well, that comes later.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of all started from that idea.
Interestingly, I'm just going to interrupt quickly. Interestingly as well, like Kickstarter was obviously revolutionary in that effort, but we did originally pitch like Chapter House Comics, and
Chapter House. Wow, yeah.
because we were like, that's what you do. We've got
Yep.
this great idea. We had a pitch deck. We went to Fan Expo before, like stupidly or amazingly or whatever, before we even had a book. We had a pitch deck. We had a Bible. We had like an ash can. We kind of went in and like basically just like, what do you think of our idea, world? And we had already been talking with Chapter House on and off, but I went to their table and talked to them, and they were like, yeah, like this is great. Like this is, and that in and of itself was worth it, to be honest. Like going there and having a publisher kind of give you that
A reinforcement.
reinforcement, thumbs up, but then once we started talking about what that looked like,
The percentage.
not only the percentage, but the commitment to time.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so here's the deal. You guys need to finish by this time. We, basically, I can't remember the exact details, but it was no, they're doing all the heavy lifting. They're printing, they're marketing, they're, putting it out there on shelves and all that kind of jazz. But it was like, you're not getting anything, and you need to get it out way faster than we could with day jobs. So that was amazing and freeing in a way, because we were like, we can't. Yes, we would love, like, if Image Comics came to us and said we want to publish this, we would probably change our tune a bit, maybe, but but yeah, but at the end of the day, the reality, we just, that would require us quitting our jobs, taking a leave of absence or doing something to start creating at a clip that was sustainable for those publishing houses, and it just wasn't going to happen. So, the catch-22 is that we are, we're doing it on our own. As a result, sometimes it goes slower. So,
but it's just a lot more freedom as well too, in the sense that you kind of control your own destiny.
Yeah.
Another thing I like about this, because we did the exact same thing. We put a whole kind of package together. We had talked to some people to kind of figure out what the percentage cut was going to be and what it would look like and down the line, and we just realized that it's not that great when even the publisher, they do a lot of the heavy lifting, but we've talked to some even more recent guys. You still got to do all the promo yourself and have even people that we know that have names, and you probably remember this as well too, and they got to promo their book. Image isn't the person that's going out there doing all the marketing. Like, they're doing marketing in the sense that they're Image, but if you're not pushing your book 100%, when those orders come in, it's still on you.
Yeah.
It's still on you at the end of it, right? So why not take control of that a little bit more and just kind of go out there and pound the pavement yourself?
Happens for authors as well too. It's not just comics. It's like it just seems that the creative world, it's all about, how do I say this? The creative team does the majority of the heavy lifting, and then they take care of the rest. The publishers, whomever, take care of distribution and some of the printing and stuff like that. So what was the biggest surprise, before we dig into Feral and your other IPs? What was the biggest surprise for this journey in terms of being a creative and self-publishing?
I mean, for me, it was that first Fan Expo, and it was just a response, like having it get fulfilled, the first Kickstarter for the bestiary, having this get fulfilled.
Hold on a second. Hold it up there. I'm just going to give you a solo layout there.
Yeah, so having the bestiary on Kickstarter, and it did well, and we thought that was great. But actually bringing it to Fan Expo, and seeing people get excited about it and want to talk about it, and finding out that people are also fascinated by, what would Canada look like in the 1700s? What could be there that there was so much folklore about, and what goes bump in the night, and what do you do with that if you're if you're starting your life in the new world. It was a fascinating thing to watch people gravitate towards the idea and then get more excited once they start looking through the short story that we had, and then our bestiary, where we did some great research on all the creatures in the new world, and Mike wrote up a lot of information over a short amount of time about each creature. And then, also in the Kickstarter, we tried things that it was our first Kickstarter. We didn't know what we were doing. So
I'm only laughing because same. It was like you get hit in the face.
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire. Trial by dropped in the middle of the sun almost.
Like Frank's kind of new to the Mad Quill team, but he loves the story of when we promised to give everybody a free sketch, an original sketch, if we hit a certain number, and then we did, and I was like, oh shit.
I see Mike shaking his head. Mike shaking his head is like
I mean, that's the thing, like I don't have to do anything. It's like like all right.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin has a great photo of him standing behind all these pieces of original art, and I just get a kick out of like see, that's what you get. He opened up the door and Pandora's box just explodes.
I mean, it was a good lesson though, in terms
It was
of
a good lesson.
Now every time, and Frank knows this, but every time we talk about stretch goals or something like that, I'm like, like we could try that. No, you can't. If it involves any more work or any more money or anything, that I'm like, we're not doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it's been, I mean, but I think Kevin's right, but for me the biggest surprise I think was also not only just, but and eventually it brings us to Frank as well, but the desire for good storytelling, right? In whatever particular format. And that's what I've really been like. I played RPGs minimally when I was in high school and stuff like that. And I had a bunch of friends that were really into it, like Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of stuff. And I never really thought about it, but as we went to cons and as people bought the book and were interested, they'd be like, oh, this would be a great, tabletop game. I'm like, whatever, right? Like,
it feels unattainable.
Yeah, like so, like we don't do that, right? That's not what we do. But then, as like more and more people kept saying that, and when Kevin met Frank, all of a sudden it was like, are we idiots? Like, should we not? And then it became less about what we do, and more about, this is just another way of telling a great story, or actually letting other people tell the story they want to tell it, right? To experience the story themselves. And I'm like, that actually, it was kind of like a light bulb for me to be like, I love comics. I love graphic novels. I like, the printed page. I like, novels in general. But the creativity behind being a game master, about coming up with these different classes, about, creating settings and storylines and stuff like that, just became like, I'm like, this is creating itself. All of a sudden it became, this universe that we've kind of built with comics in mind, all of a sudden became like, it was just evolving at a crazy pace. And with Frank kind of leading the charge on the RPG side, to identify, like, basically harnessing, this is what people in this world want, and it's almost like he would say we should do this, and so I put something together, and it was like, that's great, and or we could do that, and you put something like the classes, obviously, like all that stuff. It almost wrote itself in terms of of what it was. So to me, like, that was also a big surprise, just how easy it was to be like, not only do we feel like we have a good story, of course we love the Feral storyline and the Feral universe that we've started, but it's the legs that it has outside of just the printed page, I think is, surprising, right? Like, it was just, now other people like Frank are like, no, it's not surprising at all. This is exactly what you should be doing. But at the time I was like, yeah, whatever. If we hadn't got a kick in the pants from someone like Frank, we wouldn't have figured it out.
Sometimes I think, and Vaughn, I think you'll probably agree with me on this. And I'm just going over to the on your website. This is the RPG side of Feral, but like sometimes you only know what you know, right?
Yeah.
And you need outside input to 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 either poke you to go to one direction or to let you know what is possible, and then you can pull back if you need to. But like you Mike, I think you said this where it's like the RPGs. Like I wasn't big on RPGs when I was a kid, but I did play. I think for a minute D&D, and then I owned the Marvel superheroes role playing game, and and Kevin wasn't that a blast to play?
Amazing, yeah,
amazing. But what it did was it took you inside the world of the comics, where if you weren't getting a story that you wanted or you wanted a character, like. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of role-playing games were the genesis for a lot of indie creators to make their own books.
Yeah. I think.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say you're not wrong by thinking it like that. It's both the comic universe and the TTR universe engages people for immersive storytelling.
Yeah.
If I'm running a game and you guys are writing a book, it's no difference. I'm getting people on the table to engage in that story, whatever way it's through tabletop or through a comic book. Everybody's engaged in that immersive storytelling. And like you said, Steve, you're 100%. That Marvel game, when it first came out, it gave people. I remember playing that as a kid in high school, and I wanted to play. I had a Thunder character. My superhero was all based on sound and stuff like that. So to be immersed in that universe that you never thought was attainable, reading comics and telling a story as a comic book hero, that game gave us the opportunity to do that. And that's when I first saw Feral of December last year. And the story goes, I was over at the Comic-Con. And I left the Comic-Con and I went over to the collectible show and paid my $5, walked through the door, walked around it, and came across Kevin in the booth. He wasn't even in the comic.
Couldn't get in
the comic expo. He was in the collectibles section.
Was that the Kuyo one that you?
That's the one, yeah.
Kuyo one, yeah. We were same thing with us. We were in the collectible stuff. We didn't even realize that there was a Comic-Con on the opposite side.
Same.
And we ended up going to that one too.
Walking around and I come across, like I was talking to Mike Ruth, Savage Sword, and talking to him for a bit, and I looked over and I seen these werewolves looking at me. Went over and did some small talk with Kevin, kind of just to get an idea what the book was about, and then I was kind of hemming and hawing, but there's always something I was thinking about. And I remember walking out of that building, walking down to the hotel, and turning around and saying, you know what, there's something here. So I came back to the con, I went back to Kevin, I said, hey Kevin, have you ever thought of turning this into a TTRPG? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, have you ever thought about taking this universe and turning it into something like Dungeons and Dragons? And I kind of gave him my sales pitch. I said, they have a foundation. Before I jumped on board, there was a foundation there that as a TTRPG content creator that I felt there was enough there to build off it without doing a whole lot of work. They had Kevin, they had Mike. So you had a writer, you had an artist. All you're missing was developing a rule set to play in this universe. And then Kevin said, well, it's holiday season. Give me some time. Reach back out to me after Boxing Day or something like that. So went home, thought about it for a couple of weeks, and then I reached out and I said, hey, how are things? Hope your holidays are well. Have you given any more thought? And he says, well, let's talk. So I set up Kevin for the first time on Discord so we could have our first meeting. And then I said to him, I said, hey, you guys have something here. I said, I really believe in this. There's a foundation that we can build off. This is what I can offer to you. And I'm more than willing to sit down and explain more. And he says, well, I need to talk to Mike and let him know what's going on. And I think not even a day went by and Kevin reached out and said, hey, are you free to give Mike the same sales pitch that he gave me? And I said, sure. I said, let's jump back on Discord and got back on Discord and talked to him and gave him the same speech. And I said, listen, sorry, I got some ruckus in the house. I said, listen, you got a foundation here that I think can be a great game. I said it speaks in so many different ways that I think we should look at doing this.
And
so I gave him the same sales pitch. Then Mike turned around and said, listen, Kevin and I have a couple things to wrap up before the end of the year. I said, let us talk about it and we'll get back to you. And I think, again, a couple more days passed by and they both reached out and said, hey, let's sit down as a group here and hash this out. What does it look like? What do I want out of it? What are we going to bring to the table? And for us, and for me, especially being involved in the TTR space for 40 plus years, and D&D being a game that I grew up loving and doing my whole life, I said, listen, there's a writer, there's an artist. I could bring the system design into this. I said, it's a three-headed dog. I said, we're not farming out any work to nobody. We can do everything in-house. And we hashed out some details on what I was looking for and what they wanted from me. And I said, listen, I'm 100% behind this project if you guys want to do it. And it was just full steam ahead since January, working on developing rules. We're not really developing rule sets. It's very system agnostic, where the goal is you can take Feral the TTRPG and dump it into any system that you're comfortable playing. Dungeons and Dragons, Shadow Dark, Troll Lord Games, Castles and Crusades, Amazing Adventures, Daggerheart, any system that's out there. We're working on making it system agnostic, where whatever you're comfortable playing, you can take Feral and you can play in the 16 to 1800s in the fur trade and run any type of adventure in that era. And that's what we're working on at the moment.
Sounds great. I just want to get to some of the comments because we've got some great questions. And I think you would have answered this one already from Zilla95. Do you have a rule set? So I guess that's what you just answered as well. And then also, Rogues, would you ever consider video games?
So that's a great question. And remember back in like mid 2000s when somebody did a comic book, they're like, oh, they're just trying to sell it to make a movie. They're just using that to make, right? Like, people would almost accuse comic book creators of doing that. And I'm like, yes, I am using what I have in my capabilities to create the story in my brain and try and expand it to another audience. And if that's through TTRPGs, through card strategy games, through video games, I'm like, hell yes, why not, right? Why not? This is the time to be able to make all the things we can make because we have the opportunities with everything online. Just talking with, again, with Danny from Action Figure Comic Con, like, he's like, dude, if you want to make any kind of action figures for Feral, let's talk, because I have the mold guys. I have the guys that can do the paint. I have, like, we are a connected community that can create things now. And I think there's so much value in that. So for me, these things will always be the way for me to put the vision out there as a source material, the original material to hopefully build into other things. And for me, I'm like, yeah, Feral, great. We have like dozens of ideas. Let's get this one going and finished off so we can put the next one out and the next one out and see where those take us, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't think that, initially I didn't think that RPG was viable or the way to go. Just do it but it's like, also there are audiences out there that will prove us wrong. Like, you look at, Brandon Sanderson or something like that, and just the different worlds his content is spanning on Kickstarter. There's like a historical fantasy book called Temeraire that went bananas on, that they turned it into an RPG. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, whether you're talking about, movie remakes or turning, properties into TV shows or whatever it happens to be, the idea is that, there is so much that, it's the storytelling that's more important. if you can tell a story in that format, all the power to you. Do it, right?
Yeah, and there's a question about the rule set and stuff like that. When we came together as a team to work on this project, one of the things that I stress to these guys, we're not here to reinvent the wheel, right? We're not here to create the next Dungeons and Dragons rule set. We're not here to create whatever rule set people are comfortable with, Shadow Dark. Why reinvent the wheel when we have a foundation that other people have created? We have 50 plus years of history with Dungeons and Dragons. Why do we need to create the next Dungeons and Dragons? No, we don't. We have to create a way for people to tell a story in an era that doesn't get played a lot. Like I told these guys at the beginning, was when you look at TTRPGs, it's two-sided. It's very either medieval heavy or very cyberpunk space opera type thing. So there's nothing really in the middle that catches the attention that people are looking for. You get your superheroes in there once in a while, but that's come and gone. And so when I saw Feral for the first time, I thought to myself, this is the perfect era when you're trying to create a story-driven narrative and giving somebody something different that they're not seeing on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I told these guys. I said, I believe that we have something here. And I saw it firsthand because this year I went to GaryCon at the early stage. So it was back in March. So it was the early stages of us working together. But we were able to piece together some art, some class design, and I was able to play test it at the
You have to explain what GaryCon is.
Oh, so GaryCon is
People who aren't as big of a nerd as Frank is.
as Frank is. So GaryCon is a TTRPG convention, kind of like a Comic-Con, but it was created as a celebration of life for Gary Gygax. So Gary Gygax is one of the original creators of Dungeons and Dragons. So when he passed away, as a celebration of life, they brought people together to play Dungeons and Dragons. People loved it so much that they turned it into a convention every year. It's in its
like a Ready Player One scenario.
Yeah. So 19 years of GaryCon in Lake Geneva. In Lake Geneva, the home of Gary Gygax, so the birthplace of Dungeons and Dragons. They have this convention in March, and it's all at the Grand Geneva, which is the old Playboy Mansion in the north here. And you go for 4 days and you play nothing but TTRPGs. Whatever TTRPG you might want to play, you'll find it at GaryCon. Shadow Dark, Dungeons and Dragons, Castles and Crusades. There's all kinds of different TTRPGs. So I put together. It wasn't rushed. I was going anyways. So I said, listen, if I'm going, I want to showcase Feral and get a little bit of feedback. I think I ran a total of 5 games under Feral, and it was nothing but positive feedback. To play a system that wasn't fully developed, but just the immersive storytelling of the fur trade had people at the table. So like I told these guys when I came back after 4 days, when you go somewhere and you find your tribe of people, that was our tribe of people. Like everybody was engaging in Feral. Everybody came by, took bookmarks. I had bookmarks with QR codes. People were interested in more or less curious about this universe of Feral. So coming home and building off that, the idea was we don't need to reinvent Dungeons and Dragons. We just need to put something out there that whoever's telling the story in the Feral universe has enough tools in front of them that they can create great stories with the people at the table.
And I think that's kind of this is what makes up Mad Quill, because Frank is talking and I'm still like, I don't understand a lot of what you're saying. Still, Frank, you're so into the world of TTRPGs, but I need that as part of Mad Quill because I'm not that guy, right? You need somebody that's that passionate about that type of media. And Frank knows so much that it boggles my mind, and he's so immersed in it. And Mike is the same with writing and details, and I remember getting in crap because I put a green apple on a panel, and he's like, there weren't green apples in the 1700s. I'm like, what are you talking about?
There weren't green apples in North America in the 1700s.
Right. And so we get into this discussion about like how much research he did for Canada in the 1700s and how I was incorrect in like a flag of England, and it was the wrong flag. That flag came out, 4 years later after this one. I was like, oh my God, all right. But there's a passion there that I don't have. my passion lies in the artwork, and that's where I geek out there. So putting us all together really passions, and it drives us to do a really great job. But I think it helps create, the best possible product. And that's why I have a lot of confidence in the TTRPG, even if it doesn't do amazing, which I think it will. I'm just looking forward to seeing, the world that we're creating turn into that next property.
And I wrote a bunch of stuff in our blog, which you can find on the website, but it's the idea that kind of the reverse engineering, like creating a TTRPG backwards, right? Like,
Right.
The idea that, this is how it came to be. And so I think there was some fun kind of geeking out opportunities to talk about storytelling and what matters to people and what engages them and that. But selfishly and business model wise, also if you go on Kickstarter and follow the TTRPG scene instead of the comic book scene, holy crap, those things are making a lot of money. The audience on Kickstarter for TTRPGs is way different than comic books. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, to be honest. I don't know enough about that world, that audience, that business yet. But when you get on to, when you go there, like, and search, like, the ones that there's the ones that are going like thousands of percentage points over their funding goals. There's, like Brandon Sanderson has always done amazingly well in everything he does. But it was like, his TTRPG that he had someone else made was like 53 million or something crazy like that, right? Like, in the Temeraire one, which is based on a great storyline, it was like, yeah, I think it was 200,000. Like, so that was just paltry, but still, like, when that versus comic books, right? Like, we were having a discussion today. It's like, when you're coming up with your funding goal and, your business model throughout the year and how many books you're going to print and all that kind of stuff, it's like the goal you're setting is increasingly one that has to be realistic based on the comic audience and the comic appetite out there. Because yes, people like comics, there's still a market for them, but it's not the same by any means as what people seem to be willing to pay. So selfishly, I can be like, oh yeah, TTRPGs are great, and I can just nerd out. And they also make a lot of money on Kickstarter, because in one regard, we're gonna do that, and so that even just the interest alone, like our comic, our Feral #2 has a notify me on launch on Kickstarter, and the TTRPG has one, and it has considerably more people interested in it than the comic book does, which to one degree like hurts my ego a bit. So if anyone wants to go to Kickstarter and search on Feral RPG, please do so.
We'll put the link in the chat here too.
Yeah. But
yeah, we'll take a look at the campaigns in a little bit. But I just want to go back to one comment here from Rogues. Rogue says, now with the role playing, you guys can now quit your day job? ?
Yeah, depends on how big your contribution to the campaign is.
And you guys touched it. So being involved in this world, in the comic book world now with you guys nailed it earlier where you guys talked about self-publishing and stuff like that. There's a bit of a renaissance going on in the TTRPG community where access to backer kit, access to Kickstarter has helped a lot of people publish some really good stuff. There's a couple of people in the chat that I've just noticed that I want to thank. Travis Farber and Trollord Chuck. Both of these, it's Chuck from Trollord Games and Travis Farber. Travis Farber was one of the first people to believe in me. I did a bunch of heraldry for one of his Kickstarters. He has a jousting system out there in the TTRPG space that's amazing, quick and easy to run. Guys like that I surround myself with, I'm allowed to bounce stuff off on a regular basis. Hey, what do you guys think of this? How does this look? And those two gentlemen in the chat, along with my cousin and Chuck, Jack there, Zilla, people like that is what we look for. We try to surround ourselves with creative people, but also when I'm working on a project, have somebody on the outside guide me and say, hey, have you thought about looking at this way? means a lot, and that's all about it for us, and especially for myself, is building that community of people that you can draw upon and work together on different projects. And like you guys said, self-publishing. It's fairly new in the TTRPG community because of Kickstarter and backer kits, but there's a lot of people out there that are having some very successful Kickstarters in the TTRPG space. And when I first met these guys, I thought both universes align with each other. You guys tell stories in a different way, but I tell stories in a different way too. But both universes are hand in hand. You would look for good story. As a kid, you always went to the comic book. You always went to that news rack once a month to find out the new Superman, a new Batman, whatever was coming out. Though people like yourselves were telling stories to us as young kids for a long, long time. Now taking that attitude in that scenario and bringing it into the TTRPG space, where now that when I'm working on a project, I'm not working on it myself. I have a team of people with me. I have an artist and I have a writer. It's easier for the three of us to come together and build off the foundation of what Feral is already in Kevin and Mike's head, and I'm just adding a campaign setting to that world. And you can take that campaign setting now and drop it into whatever system: Trollord Games, Castles and Crusades, Amazing Adventures, Daggerheart, Shadow Dark, Dungeons and Dragons. This campaign setting that Feral is going to become, you can just take it, drop it at your table. You'll have all the tools you need to start telling your story. No different what you guys do in the comic book world.
Interesting to see as well. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
Whether there's crossover as well. Like, I think there's crossover from the storytelling perspective, but will the people who read the comics be interested in the TTRPG, and vice versa? If you're really into the TTRPG, will you be interested in reading some of the backstory that brought that to life? So, I mean, hopefully, Circle of Life, blah blah blah. Be nice to kind of have them, come together, but wait and see.
No, that's a great point. And I know, Mike, you're saying, oh, the comic books don't get as much love, but when you think about it, like I kind of think of like it's almost like auto racing in a way, where like auto racing is the R&D for the cars we see on the street, right? And I've always argued that the comic books are the R&D for the MCU. But in the end, it's still storytelling. And the beauty of the comic books then going into the RPG world is that you're setting almost like the parameters for what the storytelling that they will do as a community. Because like when you read a comic book, it's kind of a solitary thing. It's you and the medium, right? Or the media. But when you're doing an RPG, and anyone on the panel can correct me if I'm going a little sideways on this, but there's more of a community feeling because you have I'm going to use the dungeon master as an example, and then you have all the players, and you get together and you meet for a certain time. So there's a certain sense of community where when you're playing the game and telling the story and being immersed in the story, as opposed to comic books, it's kind of like you watch a television show. Not even that, because you don't read. Very few people read a comic book with someone else at the same time, and then you do the water cooler talk afterwards, where you go, "I hated page 5," or "Can you believe the book at the end?"
Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned the Dungeon Master, and this was a little thing, but it kind of reminded me about why I'm 50. This is so much fun still. Why is this so much fun when I'm 50? When we're like, we can't call it the Dungeon Master. We have to come up with a name for it. That was literally like an hour-long coffee, back and forth chat, like dozens and dozens of different names that we're trying to narrow down. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun.
Yeah,
it was good.
But you talk about being immersive in that comic book, but as a dungeon master or a storyteller, or in Feral, we call it a chronicle keeper. As a chronicle keeper in Feral, my job is, I have an idea what story I'm telling. But my job at the table is to make sure that my players are immersed in that story. And my job also is to feed off those players. So it's a little improv sometimes, but if you can engage your table and your table's engaging in you, it makes my job or anybody's job as a storyteller running a game a lot easier. And then you know that your table's having fun. And for me, with my players, it's all about them having fun and telling the story that they want to tell. I'm just creating the world, and they're living it, and they're playing in it, and they're playing whatever character or whatever way they want to play it in the world. And it's just my job to make sure that they have fun and enjoy the story that they're trying to tell with their character.
It's like Critical Role too. I don't know if you guys know, but like that, they're they're massive online as far as like YouTube and stuff like that. They're a bunch of voice actors that got into role play, RPG, and it just like their online stream is just massive. But they took that storytelling and the campaigns that they ran and turned them into Amazon Prime TV shows, right? Like Legends of Vox Machina, The Mighty Nine, which are like, actually, I find like, I don't know what other people, but I think they're great. I might be a little biased now, but like once we got involved with Frank and whatever, I started kind of diving deep into that world. Not as much playing, just because from a time perspective and whatever, but I just started diving in. And like Critical Role is like, just even I can't believe I'm watching a live stream of people playing Dungeons and Dragons sometimes. And then the fact that they were able to take that, and they're all voice actors, so they all voice act the play. Anyways, it's just to me just an amazing example of, hey, we're taking comics and turning that into an RPG. They took a campaign, an RPG, like love of RPG in that world, and said, like, once this campaign's over, like, this is a great story we've told, and let's turn it into something else. It's just incredible. And how that resonates with their audience and their community and people who don't even necessarily know it was based off of that is bananas.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I just want to ask Vaughn one thing, and then Frank, I'll let you get back to that. But remember, there was something that you used to watch. It was an online game, and it was a community as well too, and it was some sort of a video game that you used to watch. Did that have like a storyline as well too that kind of worked like an RPG? It's you know the one I'm talking about, right?
I think so.
Now he's embarrassed and he doesn't want to talk about it.
No.
Embrace your geekdom, man.
I'm a big Twitch head. So when Critical Role was kind of kicking off, I remember seeing some of that stuff. The one that I'm thinking about,
it was a game where like it was almost not quite. It was like a quest game where they were fighting in the middle and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think you might be referring to. I was watching StarCraft, and they've turned that into tabletop as well too recently. And same thing with Kickstarter and Back a Kit. They've launched that, and that one took off and did quite well for itself. But they've done a bunch of those kind of variations of stuff. But any IP for the most part now these days, if it has definitely some great lore in it, has been kind of getting turned into tabletops. Like they just did, what was it? Cyberpunk 2077. So now that's a big one. That one did crazy gangbusters numbers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those type of things that are doing great numbers now and everything's getting turned into a tabletop IP now for the most part. So can't go wrong with any of that stuff. I mean, we talked a long time ago about not so much tabletop IP. We had another idea that we wanted to maybe look into something like that for more of a kids game.
Oh, like it was a card. It was along the lines of like
more of a card kind of game, but
like Dungeons Gathering
kind of thing,
yeah,
like Dungeon Dragon kind of thing with cards and kind of like multipliers, which was going to be the gems and stuff like that. A little bit more like Hearthstone.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that, but in that kind of vein. But no, I think a lot of opportunities there with storytelling now that people are out there converting these IPs into bigger things.
Well, you look at the Penny Arcade guys, right? What they did, right? So the Penny Arcade guys went the same route with the Acquisitions Incorporated. So you went from to that element where they hold their own, right? When they put on live play shows, like they sell out, and they got a cult following as well. And like I said, it all goes back to that Renaissance type feel in this space. The opportunity to, like you said, Vaughn, to take an IP and develop it to something. There's no bigger surprise than Dungeon Crawl, Carl. Look at the numbers that book has done over the last month. and it went from it's a TTRPG along at the same time they're creating a card game for it. So there's a lot of opportunity out there for creative people to come together and work on projects and to throw it out there on the internet and see what happens. And that's all we can do is give people the opportunity to play in our worlds, to play in our universes, and have fun. And that's all we're trying to create is that atmosphere of community. I'm a big community guy, so and resonates in the comic book world too, where when you build that community around your brand or your IP, people will flock to it.
Got a comment here on our Instagram, and it's from Bondsart 3D. It says, pretty sure I bought Feral thinking it was the other comic, and it's the best mistake they've ever made. So that's high.
Another comic, yeah.
That's high praise. That's high praise.
Yeah.
So
those damn cats.
Those damn cats.
They're always getting away.
Yeah.
So TLG Chuck says collaboration is key and fun for sure. So we've seen kind of horror have a I wouldn't even say a renaissance. I would say it's the champ right now in terms of like box office with Obsession and Backrooms and obviously the stuff that A24 has been putting out for a minute. What is it about horror and then obviously things like werewolves? What is it you think that is such a huge appeal? And then maybe if you can tie it into where you were like, Feral, this is what we got to do.
I mean, for me, the appeal isn't the blood and the guts and the slash. Like I'm not that guy who's like, oh yeah, give me like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I want to see everybody get ripped apart. It's more the suspense of it potentially happening and building that ambiance, that emotional stress. That's what shows like I just watched Obsession and I was like, what is this? What is this silly thing about some girl being obsessed and some wisp of the willow? What is that? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. It was so good. And it's because I was just kind of at the edge of my seat the whole time. And sure, it's a Blumhouse film, right? So there's some blood and guts, but it wasn't what was the shock value. It was just immersing myself into that world. And that's what we're trying to always do. We're trying to immerse the audience into the vision that we have in our heads, I think.
Yeah, I think like I look at, I mean, there's two movies that really come to mind, but like one is like the most recent Hellboy, like The Crooked Man, where I'm like, think of it as you will, like production value or anything like that. But the way they told that story was very kind of true to a Mignola kind of, it was just like one segment in a larger, this is one story in this kind of universe kind of thing. It was just very detective-y, but horror, but that kind of not blood and guts necessarily, but just I think the way they told that story was pretty impactful. And then like the Brotherhood of the Wolf, where that is like the French movie that I just was like, this, was so cool. The way it was put together, just the action scenes and everything, that alone. But just the story itself, and similar to I think what we're trying to do, where it's, is that real? Like, are these things real? What is monsters? Are they real? Like, and in one case it's like, no, it's not a monster. Oh, no, it's not. And just kind of that back and forth of kind of really playing with what it is that are what's actually happening here, and tie that into great fight scenes and all that kind of jazz. And I'm like, I'm in. Take my money, right? But it was a bit of a cult, favorite, and same with Hellboy, right? Like, and The Crooked Man, like just one of those things where was it amazing? Was it no, but it hit the right beats for me, right?
And so you take that type of storytelling and then you try to immerse it yourself in the tabletop. and by doing that in the tabletop world, you're trying to create pressure that the players feel, right? So you take the environment of the 1600s to 1800s. You're trying to survive. Like the players already told, like I've have a list of playtesters that are signed up already, and I told them, you guys need to learn how to survive, right? You understand that your gun ain't gonna fire every single time you pull that trigger. So there's that pressure of being under the gun when you're chasing down a pack of wolves that might lead to that alpha werewolf somewhere down the road, and you're trying to keep warm, you're trying to stay dry, you're trying to keep your gunpowder dry. All those mechanics is what you're going to find in Pharaoh TTRPG, where you're creating that pressure and then the players have to react to it, and giving them an environment that's enriched with folklore and myth. We talked about Hellboy today, and that Hellboy universe creates that where it feels real day to day, but you have that folklore, that fantasy element that you can draw into your game to create those creatures, those monsters, and those scenarios that feel a little bit more terrifying than hunting down a bunny rabbit or a beaver. That instead of that beaver tracker falling, you're going to be staring down the eyes of a werewolf who wants to chew you apart. And it ain't going to be easy. It shouldn't be easy. Like players need to understand it's not going to be easy. It's not. It wasn't easy for those people when they were doing it back in the history, like Kevin likes to talk about, and with Revenant. It wasn't easy to go out and just hunt a bear. Like you got to understand, even a grizzly bear or a polar bear, those are big creatures that walk and talk in this world that we live in today. Imagine back then when you had a pocket knife and a black powder rifle that wasn't guaranteed to go off.
And to that point, I felt like The Revenant was the starting point of this. And I love Last of the Mohican. Is one of my favorite movies of all time. But then I watched Predator Prey just a little while ago. I'm like, see, look, they're trying to take down the apex predator. And it's ripping through all of these poor dudes with these, swords and black powder rifles. I'm like, there you go. It would work. The concept works. Instead of predator, we have werewolf, and it could be so much fun. So I was kind of re-engaged after I saw Predator Prey, because I'm like, yes, we're on the right track. This is gonna be good. What's that, Mike?
I gotta watch that one again.
Oh, so good.
Mm-hmm. It is good. So since we're on the subject of werewolves, I'm going to go around. We're going to start with Mike, go to Kevin, and then around. Favorite werewolf film?
I mean, to be honest, I gotta like this is like, if you're really just talking pure werewolf, I just freaking love Teen Wolf. Right? Like it has nothing to do with what we're doing here.
That's awesome. I love that answer.
Took my answer.
Oh, we have two on the panel. Okay. All right, Vaughn, you got to pick something else. You got to pick something else now. All right, so we have Teen Wolf. All right, Kevin, you're up.
I mean, Underworld was my jam when I was younger. I mean, that was just werewolves versus vampires. Yeah. And just the way they shot that, and the cinematography and the lighting was just like, it had a thing to it that was pretty excellent.
Good old Kate Beckinsale.
I wasn't going to say it because my wife is just over there, but yeah.
I'll say it for you.
Careful.
Good old Kate Beckinsale. Can't go wrong.
No.
All right, Frank, you're up.
I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go with a series. I'm going to go with True Blood.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about True Blood.
Definitely.
Right.
Bon temps. That's right.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. All right, Michael J. Fox, you got to pick something else now.
I didn't mind that the one that had I can't even remember the name of it, but Benicio was the
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, he was the
was that I think the Wolfman, wasn't that?
I think it was
I'm getting that one mixed up with the one where Jack Nicholson was
I think that was just Wolf.
That might have been just Wolf.
And I think the Benicio one was Wolfman.
Was Wolfman.
Right.
Yeah. So Zilla says Teen Wolf. Yeah. Right? And then Travis says the Wolfman. I'm
excited about the the Robert Eggers one coming out, where
Right.
That's how, yeah. I heard
Yeah,
about
we're supposed to see how that works out. Could be
Yeah,
good.
interesting. I always like the transformation one, or the Benicio one, where he's strapped to the table. I don't know if you
Mhm.
saw that one. That one was always it was an interesting one.
Right. TLG says he loved the Howling. Yeah, the Howling. That I think that had
Oh,
deep
yeah.
tone. That one freaked me out as a kid, and
Yeah.
for me, it was American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah, just the transformation scene when he
Yeah.
watches his hand kind of elongate.
Yeah.
Some great stuff. Question: Were there werewolves in the Vampire Diaries?
I don't know.
I don't know. So off the map of the moment, I don't know if
Yeah.
Vampire Diaries would actually qualify because I
Uh-huh.
don't know if there are any werewolves in it.
I'll go back to I'm a Buffy head, so I'll say Buffy as well too.
There are werewolves in Buffy?
Oh,
Here's
yeah.
where good old Spike.
Well,
That's-
I just realized who asked that question, and I think it's safe to say if she's calling all the Vampire Diaries, she knows her movies. So
Well,
we
we're
have to
getting
take
an
her word.
emphatic yes. We're getting an emphatic yes. So, all right, off the map into the moment, we will go with it.
So that was what was it? Seth? Not Seth. I want to say Seth Green. Is it Seth Green?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was the werewolf in Buffy.
He's a werewolf. Yeah, he's a werewolf. His whole family was a bunch of werewolves, I think.
Hey, okay, let's talk about the white elephant in the room. We have to put in Twilight some way, somehow.
I was
We
thinking.
don't. We don't.
I don't know about that.
It has to be.
So let's take a look at your website, and we're also going to check out your Kickstarter as well too. So if you can run us through what you've got going on there, let's go to Feral to the Color of Blood. So here we have. Let me see. Yeah, you guys see it pretty well.
Well, congrats
So-
on the followers. You guys got 56 followers, so that's great, man.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, and so this is going to continue on from issue 1 of Feral, correct?
Yep. This one, yeah, literally, it's issue 1 ended up in a bit of a cliffhanger, spoilers. And this kind of starts right back up.
Get the link for somebody. See if you can toss that.
Yeah,
in.
I'm just doing that right now.
Okay.
Sorry, continue.
Oh yeah, I mean that's pretty well. It just starts right back up. Essentially, the idea, the best part, like the bestiary was our proof of concept and kind of goes over the universe. Feral #1 kind of laid the groundwork and was, it's not like werewolf forward from the get-go, right? It's there's a bunch of adventurers and pirates, and they get themselves they immersed in something that's probably over their heads. And then #2 is what truly brings werewolves into the storyline and really kind of gets them to the new world, and you start seeing that kind of fur trading mentality, and as well as that kind of make the world England and kind of imperialistic efforts of the HBC and the Crown and that kind of stuff. So there's some good drama and some good monsters and just some good next steps in the storyline that will kind of really take William Gray and his crew that much farther down the path they're following.
I've got some preview art. If anybody wants to see some preview art for the first time ever.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be great. So
I did not authorize this.
It's going out anyway. It's happening, Mike.
do we have the non-disclosure? It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
All
Yeah,
right.
we can't give stuff away for free. I told you this already.
It's happening. It's
So
happening.
here's the solo layout, Kevin. So whenever you're ready.
All right. So we got the cover to the next issue. So that's the cover.
Nice.
And then it's funny because
you notice that we like to do bald guys, right? Like it's good.
yeah, we like bald guys. It's funny. We've had this discussion about should we put the sword through his mouth and out, or is it too violent? Because we don't know if it's going to get a bad review based on the fact that it's
Right.
too gory off the cover. So we're trying to think of all the different opportunities where that would work or not work. But yeah, so that's the cover. And then here we go. We got some interior work here where we literally jump right into where we left off in issue number 1. And we have a bit of a choose your expression of how terrified you are as the creature's coming. And then from there, we kind of delve into
it's not just werewolves. Obviously, it's
how they have to get to the world of the new world. They have to get there. So we're basically starting issue number 2 with where they left off, these pirates in the ocean, and how they battle through to get to the new world and start their adventure there.
How many pages are you looking at for this one?
I believe it's going to be 24, 26, 24. We're still we're debating a few things, because if there was ever a place to advertise your product like an RPG, it would be in your own comic book. So
probably,
yeah.
It has a self-promote, right? So
Absolutely.
Why not? Why not? Jen W says can't wait, and the art looks fantastic. And so, Kevin, I'm assuming that you're doing everything traditionally, right? Not much digital.
No, we're actually doing mixed media at this point. So because we are 3 guys, and as you guys know, being indie comic creators, there's a lot of work to do to promote. So we're trying to kind of split the work and utilize the work that we're doing for all the social media platforms. So every couple nights, I'm trying to do live streams on TikTok through Mad Quill. And what I'm doing is I'm actually, I'll do a live stream and I'll create like a panel of the book.
Yeah.
So this is a panel. I think this is page 7, panel 1. And it's a fun story when you're doing a live stream, because you're showing Mike's script, you're showing the page, you're explaining why you're doing it, and then you're showing the whole process. And then as I'm doing the work and talking about it, people get to see it actually get scanned, placed into the page as a final, and it's a fun process. But it's another way for me to also promote the book, promote the channel. This was yesterday's panel that we worked on. And normally Frank and Mike are in the stream trying to help out and moderate a little bit. So yeah, we're playing a lot of the time. We're playing with how much time do we have in the evenings to create the material and then promote the material and grow the audience. But again, it's fun. It's all fun stuff to do still, which is important. Because if it wasn't fun, then it would just be work, and that's not as much fun.
Finding that balance, right?
Yeah, definitely.
As Chuck says, lots of irons in the fire, for sure.
Always keeps us young.
Always, yeah, for sure.
Makes us old.
So this is the this is the comic book. I'm going to pull up the RPG.
So the comic book will be launched on July 1st on Kickstarter. Just so everybody who's watching knows, July 1st is comic book launch for Kickstarter. And then we're looking at October for the RPG tabletop role-playing game launch for Feral.
And any idea on how long your campaign is going to go for the comic book?
30 days.
30 days? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I get notified then.
Yeah. Nice.
How have you not clicked that already, Vaughn? Come on.
I think I have. You know what the thing is? You start bookmarking so many things. Sometimes it gets a little bit much.
All right. And here, what I will say this: your artwork for Feral, in terms of like your landing page imagery, is off the chain. Absolutely striking.
Appreciate it, Steve. Appreciate it. Sometimes we're not sure. Sometimes the numbers are like, oh, I guess maybe it's not so good.
You got to put it out there and let the audience decide.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. So here we have Feral, and I'm just going to share the link for it as well too.
Side note: Kickstarter's search function is ass.
Yeah,
It's
it's tricky.
great
It's trickier to maneuver around sometimes.
Yeah, there we go. So here we have Feral's Dark Fantasy. And so this book here is this is for the uninitiated. What book is this in this image here?
So the master plan. So we bounced ideas back and forth as a group. So I think what we've kind of settled on is we're going to have a Feral World Builders book. So that technically will showcase the universe, everything that a storyteller or chronicle keeper would need to run their campaign setting would be in one book. And what we're going to do is we're going to offer, and as people are not familiar with TTRPGs, every system has a different way of presenting stats or monster stat blocks or player stats. So what we're thinking about doing is creating system-specific stat books, player books that you can pick up. So if you want to play Feral with Dungeons and Dragons, you'll have a 5e rule book or stat book that you can use to tell you how to build your character, the equipment, all that stuff. We'll have a Amazing Adventures one for Trollord Games. So depending on what system you want to play at your table, you will have a system reference book for that system available along with the World Builders book.
Sweet.
books.
All right. So a grid mark frontier like no other.
So for people that are familiar with TTRPGs, it's going to be very hex crawly. What I mean by that is it's very outdoor survival. If you look at a standard Dungeons and Dragons, you get a lot of different elements. A hex crawl or West Marches style campaign is very prevalent in that space. But you also have like your dungeons and stuff like that. I'm working on creating like more of a cavern style system when it comes to our take on dungeons. There'll be cave systems that you can adventure through as a group, but the majority of the adventuring will be done through what's considered a West Marches hex crawl, where you're traveling hex to hex, looking for adventure or trying to solve a mystery or chasing down the werewolf.
Sweet. And I like this part here where it says this is not a realm of heroic fantasy. Let me make sure I got it right. Like the history is built around, this world is one of hunger, cold, isolation, and belief, where the price of a werewolf pelt can make someone rich, but obtaining it is more likely to make them dead. That pretty much says it all right there.
Yeah, now you're getting into a little bit of some of the classes. We're going to launch with anywhere between 5 and 10 fully developed classes. Where you're getting to there is a couple of the preview classes that we've put out there that we've come up with at the beginning of this campaign. We're trying to make everything era specific, so it feels like it belongs in that era. We're not trying to do anything crazy. We still have a fantasy element to our game, but that historical aspect of the TTRPG resonates with all three of us, where it needs to feel like you're in 1600s to the 1800s.
Right. And then you have your monsters.
Again, this is where we have fun with. This is the fantasy aspect of the TTRPG, where we can base some of our stuff on folklore. So you got to think, coming to a brand new land from places like England, France, Spain, you're bringing those folklore stories, and all of a sudden you're in a new land with a bunch of indigenous tribes around you, and they have their folklore and their beliefs. So this is where the fantasy element of when it comes to the monster design, that we can have some fun times building out some cool monsters. Like we have some samples there with the Winigo. Again, just all based on folklore and what we're able to dig up as we develop the TTRPG.
Sweet. And I noticed that the comic had 56 followers, and you can just see that this one is almost at 200. for the RPG. So it's amazing to see how the interest spikes between the two different genres of product.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
and sorry, go ahead, Mike.
no, just a different category. It's whatever
Yeah.
reason people seem to really follow it.
But the cool thing about bridging the gap between both the comic and the TTRPG, but how cool it would be as a storyteller to pick up the comic and read the comic and getting ideas from the comic. The ultimate goal down the road is to turn the comics into actual adventures that you can play at your table. So using the comic book as a tool of reference for a chronicle keeper, I believe is a great tool to engage people in both sides of the comic world and the TTRPG world.
Yeah, I think there's a huge business model for bringing comics as playable source material for things like card game, TTRPG, video games, whatever it might be. You know, if you want to continue and move forward in whatever type of game you're playing, you got to pick up the comic book because it'll give you those hints and tips to help you move forward and get the upper hand in whatever you're playing. So there's something that I think will help bring comics farther into the forefront and merging them into, you know, the new types of media out there. I think that's one of the ways to do it because
Nice cross.
yeah, I mean, comics it's a great source material, but you know, I think comics for me, it's always gonna be like jazz. It's never gonna go away. It will never be huge like, you know, pop music, but it's always gonna be there, and you're always gonna reference back to it as, yeah, that Supergirl movie was great, but did you ever read, you know, the comic that it was based on, or you know, that Batman movie? It was based on a comic book, and to have to, you know, bring people to that source material and allow them to really open their eyes to where it originated. It's comics, so we're using it the same way. We're taking the source material of comics and we're putting more value into them by utilizing them to help move a player forward, in this case for an RPG.
Very cool. I guess it just occurred to me now, you might even be able to put a couple of Easter eggs that would help with the gameplay in
Absolutely.
the issues,
Yeah.
right?
100%. 100%. That's when I envisioned this project, when I envisioned the comic book and the role that it played, being the foundation, is again, every chronicle keeper is going to tell a different story, but to have the reference material both in the bestiary where Fox Bottom, as you see Fox Bottom coming over to North America and trying to understand what's here on the land, and then using Feral number 1, number 2, and then every other issue of Feral after that as aids in your storytelling. All we're doing is giving that chronicle keeper, that storyteller, more tools in his or her toolbox to tell the story that they want to tell.
Yeah, for sure. Rogues has a great question. We may have touched on it before, but Frank, will let you expand on this more. What role does Frank play in this? Writer, artist, or both? Producer?
I'm neither the writer or the artist. I am the TTRPG consultant for Mad Quill, game designer. So I am responsible of creating all the rules that a castle keeper or a chronicle keeper or a dungeon master would need to tell the story. So I'll be doing all the mechanics on how black powder rifles work, how the class design. I'm responsible for all the class design, all the classes, all the monster stats, the mechanics, weather charts, everything that you might see in a traditional TTRPG. That's what I'm responsible for, and that's what I bring to the team.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it like a video game, so, you know, Mike's writing the story, I'm producing all the artwork, but who's going to develop it, right? So that's Frank. Frank's the guy that's actually making it all make sense for this platform. And honestly, without Frank, I'd be like, what's a hex crawl?
I think Travis mentioned designer, and I think that's a good way of putting it. like architect or
Yeah.
someone. It's one of those things where it's like we're all creative people, and we all Kevin and I are kind of co-creators of Feral, but just because I write this story and he draws doesn't mean that he's just as involved in coming up with the storyline with that as well. Like we still talk about it, and I'll put the script together, but there's a lot of back and forth. And similarly now with the RPG, Frank is coming up with different mechanic, the corruption meter that is unique to our world. Whether the kind of affinity to the land and is what you're doing kind of self-serving or taking away from the land or giving back to the land, or all these different elements, things that we never would have thought of, that help bring that to life, or and arm the people who want to play it with all the things they'll need to have fun with it.
Yeah, the corruption meter was a cool idea that Frank had. If you can explain that, Frank, because again, that was pretty awesome.
So yeah, it's a tool that helps the Chronicle Keeper gauge the morale of a party or even an individual character. So you have two sides of the spectrum. You have the Empire side, which is England, all the royal courts, and then you got the Pharaoh side, which is the more indigenous side, where you're more in tune to the land. And depending on your actions throughout the campaign, the meter sways to one side or the other. So there's benefits and disadvantages depending on where that character lies on the corruption meter. But it's more or less, I try to compare it to when I was designing is how would greed play in this world. You're sent over here looking for fortune. Everybody came here looking to make a better life for themselves, but at the same time, you're influenced by one side or another. You're influenced by the royal courts, as they want more pelts. They don't care what you do. So do you play into that side of the meter where you do whatever it takes to get that pelt? Are you now over here in this new land and you're falling in love with the cultures and nature and how people live off the land that were here before you? And that's how, as a Chronicle Keeper, you're measuring your players in that type of system. So that's how the corruption meter came about, and it gives us a little bit of a unique tool where it's good versus evil type of element. When in most stories, right, you have people pulling at one side and other people pulling at the other, and you as a player, you have to determine which way you want to go. And
so what happens if your corruption meter hits the red line, goes too far one way?
So if that system itself will have tables and charts that indicate at each stage what's happening to that character, and that information is driven more for the person telling the story. He's keeping track of that, so he's building his story. So if that a term that's used in the TTRPG community quite a bit is you get a party of murder hobos, and it doesn't matter what class, what race, all they want to do is murder everything in sight. They don't care. They're not worried what the end goal is. It's whatever stands. If the barkeep gets in the wrong way, says the wrong thing, they're getting it. So it's trying to control that element of the game where it doesn't feel like you're playing a bunch of murder hobos just going to town on the small village or whatever. So the corruption meter, that will influence the element of storytelling when it comes to the Chronicle Keeper on who's pushing or who's controlling. One thing that also helps with the corruption meeting is back in the day, adventuring companies were known as brigades. So brigades were a group of adventurers that would go out during the fur trade and were working towards the same goal. And the corruption meter will help kind of control the party dynamics that are within that brigade. As if everybody's swinging one way, then the land's going to fight back. So if you're being destructive and you're being aggressive one way or another, the catch line for Feral TTRPG is the land remembers. And that's when it comes to designing the game, that's what I have posted here in front of me in my desk is when I'm designing an element that goes in the game, ties back to the land remembers. Every thing you do in Feral will have an outcome. That's the way I run my games at my table. For every consequence, there's a consequence to every action. Every action has a consequence. And that's we're trying to make the world feel alive. So implementing a corruption meter and stuff like that just adds life and layers to the world that you're playing in.
I'm just imagining the corruption meter with a group of players, and you can even use it for the aspect of we're doing a quest, whatever it might be. Somebody's bit. We don't know who amongst our team, and that corruption meter could essentially dictate who could be bit, who might not be bit, and turning into a werewolf. This could be a lot of fun. So exciting.
Yeah. It's just it's a tool that kind of gauges the morale of each individual character, and that morale system dictates what the outcome of that adventuring company or that brigade will be.
As Chuck says, builds great tension. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I got two questions. This is from earlier on. Zilla asked, and I'm not sure if this was answered before. Would this be a card or dice type game?
So it follows under the realm of any TTRPG, which is the foundation goes back to Dungeons and Dragons. So it's a tabletop, either in person or online. You have characters or have a character sheet that you have stats. So your basic 7 stats that you find in any TTRPG will be part of Feral, and you can either role play online or you can role play at the table, at a convention, at a local gaming store, hobby store. We're not changing, like I said, we're not reinventing the wheel where we're trying to create a whole new system. We're taking what's there and it's available to us. We're using the standard set of D&D dice. So you have your D20, your D12, your D10, your D6, your D4. All those dice will be in play in Feral. So again, like I said earlier, we're not reinventing the wheel. All we're doing is creating a campaign system that can be adapted to your favorite system that you like to play your table. Dungeons and Dragons, Amazing Adventures, Daggerheart, Dragon Slayer RPG, any system that you're comfortable about playing, we're just going to create a campaign setting that you can drop into that rule set.
Perfect. But card game. One day.
All right, we're gonna hit one last question, and this one was earlier. It was by Chuck. Before we wrap up, Chuck has asked: is introducing the gaming direction helped you to with your story and art for Feral Evolve?
So, for the artwork, 100%, because I'm a classic D&D guy, so I would always follow all that beautiful painted art from original Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm not a painter. I'm a comic book artist. I'm an illustrator. I'm a line art guy, but I am determined to try and paint a cover for this TTRPG. I'm determined. I'm going to do it. And I might drive Mike Connell crazy doing it, but it's going to happen.
I mean, I think from the writing perspective, I think it's made me think a little bit more deliberately around what characters can do and can't do. It's making when you're writing something like that, like anything, whether it's an action scene or like a long story or a short story or whatever, there's you want to have like that, three act structure or whatever it happens to be, right? Like, so you're trying to identify, what works and what doesn't. And I do feel that digging into the mechanics of whether you're thinking about a corruption meter or whether you're thinking about when something should happen or why something should happen, or what will something arbitrary pull them off into a different direction, and how do you pull them back to the main kind of storyline that you had in mind. It does give it a sense, like a bit of a more organic feel sometimes. I still have an outline. I still try to stick to that, but I do feel that Frank's mechanics, and talking with Frank more about this has improved my sense of side characters and just shit in general that happens.
And just to touch base on a comment that was made in the chat there by Travis, he nailed it right on the head. It's plug and play campaign setting. That's what we're trying to create here, is a plug and play campaign setting that you can take to your table and just have some fun with it. There's some people in the chat there that are very familiar to what a TTRPG is, and those people are the people that I bounce ideas from. And again, like I was talking, George is in the chat, and he asked me this morning how my day was, and Chuck, I was talking to Chuck on Discord this morning too, and I was telling Chuck I spent half my day today writing 14 pages on black powder mechanics and how it works and how it plays, and my goal over the next couple of days is trying to shrink that in half so I can have 7 pages instead of 14 pages of mechanics on how to reload and load your black powder weapon.
I love it.
There's Travis's, and I think you're getting, Kevin, you're getting a boost here to start painting. So do it. You're an illustrator, so you're good to go.
Just line art. I gotta switch gears. It's gonna be interesting. Be interesting, guys.
You'll be able to do it. So guys, I just want to thank you all. You guys were amazing. It was a lot of fun learning more about Feral, because I know we pass each other in conventions, and a lot of times it's like ships passing in the night, kind of, hey, how you doing? Everything good? Oh, I got to get back to the table. But it was great to kind of sit down and get to learn more about what you're doing, and also get to figure out what's going on inside, what makes Feral really work.
Thanks for having us.
This was a great discussion. We obviously love talking about this stuff, and yeah, the same thing. Like, the stuff that you guys are doing is awesome. So it's always nice to kind of share the love and talk about this stuff.
Well,
Before we go, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
You did Indigo chapters.
Yes.
In St. Catharines. How was that?
It was good. It was pretty good.
Excellent.
It's kind of, how do I put this? It's an amazing experience, but because you're in the city not of your own, right? It's not necessarily what you would expect on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But for what it was on a Sunday, that a city that's not your own, it was pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, we're hoping.
I would recommend it. I would recommend it if you can.
We've started down the path. Like we got our books into the system and that kind of stuff, and we just missed the boat on an opportunity to go in store. So
get her done. Where are you guys located?
Toronto. I'm in Toronto.
I'm in Woodville.
And I'm in Milton, Ontario.
All right, so basically GTA, yeah. So because Vaughn and I were saying that we should try other indigos.
We'll try other indigos. We're going to try some like odd bookstores as well too. Like, we're really going to try to push when the con season kind of starts slowing down. Going into the fall, we're going to try to get into other places and do other things. Like, we're headed up for Montreal Comic Con. It's pretty last minute. But we're going to see if we can maybe go and do an in-store signing at one of the stores that took our French versions on consignment.
Oh, nice.
So if we could line up something for that in the fall, maybe, and see what other stores are out there. We found this weird, like, Gothic store that was, like, it's in Toronto. Steve sent to me, and I'm going to try to contact them to see if we could do an in-store signing.
Actually, we'll talk when we end the stream, but it'd be a perfect location for you guys, because you have the see horror element.
Yeah.
And it's like, just even the backdrop, and this kind of stuff they have around would totally fit for what you guys do.
I think it'll be excellent. And those are kind of the things I feel like might be a better opportunity.
Yeah.
In regards to, you don't have to go out of town. You can just go down to a local bookstore. It's 3 or 4 hours out of your day, but you're not breaking the bank staying at a hotel as well too. So the cost effectiveness probably, even if you only sell 10 books, but maybe it helps increase your mailing list somehow, right?
Yeah.
Or like that type of thing, right? Because
do not discount selling 10 books.
Yeah.
Because like at a convention, selling 10 books in a day at a convention is a banger. That's a banger day, man.
That is absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, when we kickstart the TTRPG for Feral in October, we're probably going to be doing some live playtesting.
Good
so
idea.
we're talking to Omar at Wayside Comics. If you guys haven't gone to Wayside yet, go to Wayside.
Yes,
Wayside. We were for their Summerfest. We have to get back around there.
We were there for Summerfest last year. I didn't make it. Mike was there.
I think we missed that one.
Flying around. It was a good one.
Good. It was good.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be doing some playtesting there. So if anybody wants to do a live playtesting in October at Wayside Comics, Frank's going to be running it. We're going to live stream. We're going to be selling books there. It's going to be a great day/night. We're still talking to Omar about it, but yeah, big props to Wayside Comics. They're always a huge supporter. So
100%. And then just to kind of close off on that thought, when it comes to the Kickstarter for Feral, we've also been in talk with Trollord Games, and they're going to come on board. So Trollord has reached out to us, and I have a great relationship with Chuck, who's been in the chat here, and we're going to do some stuff with them on their stream and help piggyback this campaign into a successful campaign. So I can't thank enough for Chuck and the guys over at Trollord Games for the opportunity that they've given me in this space. And again, can't wait for October to hit so we can do some stuff with them and piggyback off their success, because that's a company who's out there that's making a name for themselves. They're doing a lot of stuff, really good, successful backer kits last couple of months with some really cool product coming out. So go out and support Trollord Games as you can, because they're a great supporter of us at the moment. And it's great working with these guys.
Absolutely. I also want to thank everyone who is in the chat and everyone who has been watching both here on YouTube and on Instagram. Really appreciate it. Your presence is what makes all of this possible.
100%. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So to everyone out there, I want to wish everyone a good night, and we will see you guys very, very soon. All right. Take care, everybody.